I think you have lots of fans here. I got so many messages. People are so excited that you have time to come on again and like just chat flow. So
I always love coming on with you, Serena. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. I just love you. I have the best time with you. And just, it's so funny, you guys. So I mentioned that I've actually been able to work with John for, it's almost been a year, right, John? Like I'm going to say it's
right? Yeah, we had met through Tony Robbins a number of years ago, but I think a couple of years ago, but we didn't work together until last year.
Until last year. And it's been amazing and it's so magical. And every single time I get a chance to work with John, we can sit there and we talk, we nerd out, we talk for hours. You know, we talk about everything from energy, obviously, and what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
And, you know, one of the questions that came in, John, was just asking about resonance and quantum physics and energy. And we had a few different questions about that. And I was like, oh, this is so perfect because this is our jam. And talking about quantum and what that even means in terms of energy was something that had come in. So before that, like if you could just do like super quick intro to the people that don't know you yet. I already did a real brief intro, but I didn't even get a chance to dive into the energy flow formula or your body-centered leadership. I was just talking about how you're a unicorn and you're amazing and you've helped thousands of people, millions of people. And that, you know, you really help people connect with their flow, you know, like who they are. And that's what you've been doing for me. It's just, and we can talk about that too. I'm open. Like if you want to.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you sharing some of your experience is great. I think some of what I do, and this is one of the, you know, the challenges when you're talking about working with quote unquote energy, is there can be a lot of abstraction there. So it's like, how is it, how can we make it more tangible? How can people really understand what does it mean to work with energy? And then this an idea of like quantum and what's happening in the quantum realm and dimensions, et cetera, is like thrown around a lot now. So it can seem very like, well, it's quantum physics, you know, and people are kind of, it's this kind of mysterious thing. So people can kind of use that as like, almost like magic. So we can talk about that too, because there is some really interesting, science that's happening, and it's still working its way into how it applies in the biology and in human consciousness, and what is the relationship between consciousness and energy, and how can we harness that and utilize that for more physical energy, for more creativity and innovation, to feel more elevated in our lives, to feel more fulfilled, to feel more connected. So there's a lot to unpack, and I'm happy to just like follow you wherever you want to go, or wherever the people that are tuning in want to go. So definitely like bring your comments in, your questions, and we'll do our best to really, you know, hit on some of the topics that you're interested in.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the questions, because when I share and post about, you know, my guests, people usually kind of go in and they check you out. They look at your, you know, they go and they look at your account and your profile and see what it is that you do. Because there's some people here that obviously know that you're amazing. But you know, a couple questions about just what's like energetic flow. Like people didn't really know, you know, like what does that mean, energetic flow? And those questions, and you know, there are some people obviously who already work with energy and get that. But some of the questions that come in was you talk about energy, you talk about flow. I get that from meditation, you know, for example, is a question. Does that come from, oh, here's another question about meditation. Richard, transcendental meditation. Yeah. So, you know, I think that would be a great place to start for someone who's not familiar or having.
I'm really as you're talking, I'm working on getting my setup here so that I'm at the right height. So apologies to everyone as I'm moving around here. Okay, there. I think that's better. All right.
Okay, that's cool. So yeah, so I think that's a good place to start, because I do talk energy.
Colin.
I talk it like constantly, right? But like, what does it mean that oh, and here's a great question from Kitty Catch. What does a session with you look like? Oh, that's a great question.
Well, that was an easy one because now that if you haven't seen the Goop Labs show on Netflix, you can go like search that on Netflix, Goop Labs with Gwyneth Paltrow. The 5th episode is a whole episode with me working with people, and you can see what a session can look like. So that one's easy.
Yeah, and that is and just to like preface that with, you go watch it because it's like the best episode out of. I'll be honest, I don't even know if I watched all of them, but I watched yours like 3 times. So good. And so it gives you insight to your own session. But just so you know, everyone has their own experiences, so that kind of gives you an example. You may or may not have exactly the same kind of experience. So just to like let people know, it's like very individualized. But
someone asked to spell the show. It's Goop, Goop, Labs, Labs, like laboratory, Goop Labs.
So Goop Labs, and you can find it on Netflix, and it's the 5th episode. Thank you, Lainey. So someone just put up Goop Labs up there. I think John's frozen for a second, but we'll wait for him to come back on. And then John, when you're on, give us a wave. Is anyone else seeing? Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. So I think that's great, but maybe for the people who haven't seen it yet, let's walk through a little bit, like what your steps are so that they can visualize.
Okay, I'll give a little bit of background. I started out as a chiropractor in the early 90s. I originally was a fine art student, took an anatomy course that changed my life, and decided to go into health, and had no idea at the time what I was really getting into. I had never even been to a chiropractor, and I signed up for chiropractic college. So it was an interesting journey that took me very rapidly into like, what is the human body, and what is this energy that vitalizes and animates it? And how I recognized that was with being in a laboratory with cadavers and with people's bodies, and there was no, they were lifeless. So it was like, what is this like organizing? Like, what is this energy that animates? What is life? So it was an interesting kind of waking up. I was in my early 20s, and then as I got into chiropractic, I started learning all these different techniques and studying with different people, and I started to have experiences that started changing my perspective on what energy is and what consciousness is about, and I started becoming more aware. And I've really found in the course of working now, it's been over 25 years working with clients and patients. We had a practice for 20 years where we saw sometimes up to 100 people a day, my wife and I. And so we found that, we'd work with people with all these different conditions and challenges and pain and everything ranging from, low back pain to tinnitus, to anxiety, to emotional challenges, to loss of loved ones, to all these different things. And we find that there was this kind of formula for shifting patterns that involved helping someone become more aware of their body, of their breath, of the flow of energy, of how they process, how they visualize, feel, sense, connect to the energy field within and around them and to their bodies. And then we also found that people could not really make a change unless the energy that they had access to was elevated or raised up enough that they could make a change.
Right.
It's like when you want to change the state of something, you need to add energy into it. Like if you want to boil water, you have to add enough energy to get it to hit that point. And just like that, there's a kind of a threshold in life where if you're going to make a change, if you're going to shift a disease process, if you're going to shift a relationship dynamic or a work environment or whatever it is, you have to get enough energy activated in your body and around you in that field to like make that change. So we started focusing more on energy and shifting energy. But then we recognize if you're not aware, then you can be super energized, but you're not really connected to what's going on or what's needed. So by kind of working with those two things, you can really change any pattern. And so, you can use meditation, which is about awareness. It's also tapping you into another type of energy. Someone's asking if I see the energy fields, and yes, I can see the fields and how they affect. Almost like if you imagine heat coming off of like the hood of a car after the engine has been on, you kind of see it's like a shift or change in the environment or the atmosphere. You can see that there's some kind of distortion. The energy fields do have a visual quality for people. Some people see colors. Some people see, they see visions of different things that are happening around the body. Some people can tune in and feel and sense and see. Hi, Casey. Some people can feel and sense and see things literally in people's bodies, like represented in their own consciousness. I can aesthetically feel things a lot. I can feel and tune into, because I've worked with so many thousands of people. I know what certain things feel like, qualities and vibrations and tone and different it's almost like different flavors of which you could say that you could almost taste or smell or hear energy, because what your five senses are doing is taking information in the field around you, and it's processing through your unique lens, and everybody has that capability. But it has to be cultivated. I know I see there's questions that are being asked here. A lot of different questions. How do I generate energy? Am I a doctor? I'm a chiropractor by my license. The doctor is a DC. And then people are saying, are you able to feel energy? Are you able to see it? There's a lot of stuff coming in. Is it like Reiki is a common one? And I know that you practice Reiki and you utilize Reiki. So maybe we could talk a little bit about the difference between Reiki and what you experience in working with me, because you actually do Reiki. It means you can do it on yourself. You can receive it from others, and then we're doing work together. So maybe that's a question that a lot of people ask. Is it like Reiki? Because when we think of energy work, that's a reference that a lot of people know. So maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the differences and some of the things that are similarities in what your experience is with Reiki and the sessions that we've been able to do together.
Yeah. So, Reiki, it's still moving energy, right? Like, I mean, when people ask me what Reiki is, I say that it's you're kind of moving, you're almost like a conduit, and you're like a channel for energy, where the energy comes from source, and it just kind of comes through me, and I direct it towards, a person or an area or a place, and it's very focused. And I literally just kind of see myself as like a vessel, and it goes through, and it goes to where I direct it to. That's Reiki. And that's my easiest definition of Reiki.
So let me ask you this: when you're doing Reiki, when you're doing kind of laying on of hands, or you're doing Reiki in the field and you're not touching, and someone's asking about remote viewing, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be cool to talk about.
But what is your outcome that you are looking for? What is it that you're watching for? What is it? How do you know that positive outcome is happening? Like, what is your sort of measurement for Reiki? Or do you just kind of visualize, sense, feel that coming through, and it does what it does? So that's a question for.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. So for me, like, and I do a lot of distal work. I tune into it, and I see them. So it sounds a little weird, but like I close my eyes, I connect, and I can see them. And I go through their, from top to bottom, I go through their energy centers. I kind of like check in on the centers, and I can feel it's not exactly feel, but it's like I can feel or see like where there's like congestion or something that just sort of like needs to be released. Sometimes it's like it's not as bright, those areas. And so I just work to like kind of clear. So I do some pranic as well, to work to clear. And And then it's when it like flows, because we're talking flow, right? Like when that area, that center starts to like flow and it kind of goes through it, I go to the next one and I go back over. So I focus on the areas that don't feel that flow is happening, and then work my way down and then go back and do the whole body. So it's interesting because I see it, but I also feel it, you know? So that's what I do with Reiki.
Yeah, technically, like to be able to see it and feel it kind of simultaneously and have that be like kind of merged into one experience is called a synesthesia, right? It's the ability to have a kind of a combination of different experiences happening simultaneously, like being able to have a kind of sight that is felt, or a feeling that you see, but not visually through your eyes.
Yeah.
Or you hear a tone or a vibration, but it doesn't actually come through your ears. Yeah. It's more experienced in your body as a kinesthetic feeling. So that technically is a synesthesia. And it's a way to describe how we, someone said your dog has walked the marathon around you. That's awesome. I love this that is the cutest little, we have a special relationship I work on every time I come over there.
He's so loves John. He just gets so happy.
So when you have this experience of, like, for anybody who's interested in understanding how you can work with your own energy, how you can better, activate, things within you, how you can more easily connect with other people, working with them, sensing what's happening, better understanding what ignites you and elevates you and opens you up, what shuts you down, and starting to be more attentive to that, then we can start with just looking at, there's a unified field of energy. You could call it the zero point field. You could call it like source energy. You could call it oneness energy. You can call it universal energy. You can call it God, whatever. But there is one infinitely, connected field. Then there are aspects of that we are interacting with in our conscious awareness. And then there's a whole lot going on outside of awareness, considering that about 95+% of the universe is energy. And the tiny bit that is matter is actually energy at the subatomic level. That's where you get into the quantum. I think we could simplify and say that the quantum is, this is at the subatomic level. So it's below the material, like, illusion, where it seems like things are solid. Right. You get into the subatomic, you actually recognize that everything is actually patterns of probability and energy and information are just happening and oscillating at different frequencies. And we experience that as physical solidity of matter. So that's where we have the periodic table of elements, different, essentially vibrational states, energy levels creates different forms of matter. With some other factors involved. It's an overly simplified way to say it, but that's the degree. So that means we are somehow processing all of this energy in our bodies and around us, and we're doing it through different aspects of our awareness. Some of that awareness is somatic, meaning like we experience it through our body without having a conscious awareness of it. And for a lot of people, that means our body sensations, experiences happening in the tissues, in the fascia, literally in our organs, in our, in our meningeal sheath around our brain, in our nervous system, in the vascular system. Literally, it's a liquid, crystalline kind of structure where there's all this energy and information. It's like, imagine a fiber optic network where light and information is traveling through. That's happening at this like cellular and subcellular level, where it is essentially like it is a communication called biophoton emission. We literally are transferring information and communicating within our bodies and in the fields around us via light. And the fascia carries information in these little microtubules where they think quantum processing is happening. So you can see this, you can feel this, you can experience this in so many different ways. It just depends on our style. And I think if we go to the like most foundational level and recognize that everybody has the ability to process and experience energy, because everything is energy, then we just have to find out for ourselves. And this is the kind of the process of awakening and studying and exploring. how do we experience energy, and how do we shut down when we're stressed out and overwhelmed, and how do we open up to have more awareness? So like I said, we have this unified field and connection. One of the levels of awareness that we can develop is somatic. That means like more experience of the physicality and the experience of how energy moves in our physical body. So things like Qigong, Tai Chi, those are fantastic. Yeah, people are asking books that we should read. We can talk about some books, and we can also put some books in the comments.
Yeah, for sure.
So Qigong, Tai Chi, various types of breath work. We have like physical working out. We have hydrating our system, eating quality high energy foods, like you talk about a lot. Foods that have high vibration and vital life force energy. All of these things put our system into a higher energy state, because everything is energy. So you want to put in positive energy sources. But then there's other levels. So you have the physical level. It's like, what are you putting into your body? How are you using your body? Are you exercising? Are you working? Are you getting enough rest? Are you hydrating, etc.? Are you eating high quality foods? All of that is necessary. But then you have other levels that are a little more subtle for people.
Yeah.
But not everybody, because for some people they're louder, like emotions. So you have a whole field that's tied into, and a whole energy field within your body and around you that is an emotional field. So when your energy system, when you're triggered, when you get that zing or that polarization where you get this confrontational energy, or you feel super stressed or anxious, or you feel angry, or you feel charged, that is an interaction with a subtle field of energy that's within and around you. And emotion requires movement and sound for it to express. And so you and I have actually explored this in our sessions working together, where it's like all this energy is bound up and it feels so physical sometimes. And then when you finally connect and you recognize that is a pattern that's tied into emotion, it isn't just, it's held in the body, but it isn't just a physical mechanical thing. And what happens is, when the brain connects with that energy, there's a dissipation of that energy, and it'll be through vibration, through sound, through expression. And when we experience an emotional stress event, but we don't express the sound and the movement, we don't dissipate the energy, it has to go somewhere. So it goes into our body.
Yeah. And just for some context, you guys, this has been my experience, and why it's been such a gift to work with John. Is I have shared that I've had multiple surgeries before in the past. It's part of my journey that many of you know, and I didn't express, when I went through those that part of my journey, when I went through those traumas that I didn't even necessarily acknowledge as traumas at the time, and all of that unexpressed energy then ended up inside, ended up in that physical body. And so John has helped me with that process of like releasing, healing. And what's the best way that you would describe that process, John?
So someone asked, Baxter asked, why does someone cry, sometimes when they have a massage, or why would like a surgery that was kind of a traumatic event for you, that didn't, like, where there were a lot of complications, or even if there weren't complications, why would, and what's the mechanism of how emotional experiences get stored somehow in the body? And so I think, I think the simplest explanation that I can come up with is, and this is based on physiology, biology, and just there's science that backs all this up, is that truly for an emotion to express, you must have some kind of vibration in the body. There's some kind of motion, and you have to have some kind of expression of sound. It doesn't have to be a cathartic, huge sound, but it could just be it could be a groan, a moan, a cry, a whimper. And it's how your limbic brain, your essentially your emotional brain, can register emotional information. If you it's vibration literally in your body. So
vibration.
if you're experiencing some kind of trauma or stress, if you have a surgery and you're under anesthesia and the tissues are being cut into, or there's been inflammation there and there's been some kind of ongoing chronic or really acute injury,
right?
The energy that is tied into the experience of whatever you're feeling when that's happening, if it doesn't get processed by the higher brain, right, then it has to be put somewhere for later assessment. Mm-hmm. And so it's like we kind of put stuff into compartments. Mm-hmm. So we say, okay, we're having this experience, but right now we don't have the capacity to fully deal with it. So instead of having the experience and just like crying or laughing or moaning or sighing, we go, I'm fine. Or we're under anesthesia and we can't register it. So that information, that energy, it's both information and energy gets directed somewhere.
Right.
And it gets directed either into your soft tissues, it gets directed into the spine and into the vertebra, it gets directed into the organs, it gets directed into some, part of your body, and also can be stored in the field, literally around the body, where, like, if you've ever experienced someone who is, which we all have, who is like completely stressing out and they're completely frenetic. We feel this kind of frictiony energy. Mm-hmm. It's actually translated in the field because this also has to do with the heart and the brain being like out of sync. Mm-hmm. And you can actually find out about a lot more about that heart-brain relationship if you look up heart math, heart
love
and
heart math.
Yeah. So they have a tremendous amount of research that backs up the relationship between the heart and the brain and coherence.
Yeah, there's a coherence.
When things are in sync or in flow. Since we're talking about flow, it's when things are coherently connected. Yeah. The brain and the heart are in sync with each other. Mm-hmm. Everything's like flowing, oscillating, vibrating in this beautiful kind of harmonious way. Mm-hmm. When we're stressed or when we have an injury and we're emotionally overwhelmed and we can't coordinate it, express it, deal with it, we fragment, basically. We go, I can't deal with this energy. We go, scatters everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that scattered versus, someone's asking about, Nidhi is asking about the importance of scattered versus organized energy. So this is what we're talking about. So scattered energy is like frenetic or dissonant energy. It's when you can't sync up or coordinate your brain and your heart and your body so that the system doesn't function in a flow state. Right. When you go into this like coherent state, it's when your brain waves, your heart rhythm, your respiratory rhythm, they're all sort of starting to sync up. And when they sync up, you drop into a flow state that is very difficult for the outside world to just interrupt. Right. And it's translated out through your body and through your heart and into your field. And then the people that come into your field around you feel it and they're influenced by it. Mm-hmm. And there's heart math has a good deal of research on the relationship between the heart and the brain. And when somebody who's in a more coherent state goes in proximity to someone who's in a less coherent state, the more coherent person will begin to entrain or sync the person who's less coherent up. So basically we talk about how do we change the world? How do we make an impact? How do we influence other people? How do we, help others? Help yourself. Work on getting more coherent, more connected, more in sync with your own body. Express the emotions that are not being able to be expressed because you haven't really taken time to connect and feel and experience and let it move through sound and vibration. And then things clear, dissipate, and then you can show up with a more clean, pure, connected, resonant energy that's more coherent. And then you're like a tuning fork that actually will vibrate the field around you so that other people will be influenced. And it's not what you say. It's not what you're doing. There's a part of it. I mean, certainly what you're doing in the world is a part of how you can make impact. But if you just really have a super coherent state in your brain and body and energy field, then you are going to have more impact just sitting there than you're going to have if you're running all around all frenetic. Yeah. Yeah. Just being that. And that essentially, what John's saying is that's essentially what he's helped me do in the ways that I haven't been able to help myself do.
in the ways that like Reiki resonated, like you helped me like find that flow and that connection.
So I want to ask you this because you've had the experience. You're working with Reiki. You're working with high level nutrition. You're working with energy. Mm-hmm. What is the thing that I helped you do that happened? What was your experience when we were working directly together? But also maybe things I worked with you on practices. So people are asking, what are the practices? What can I do? What would you describe? What was maybe a missing link or a piece that I provided that I helped you kind of get in a new way that helped you get access to some of these places that all the things that you were doing weren't? Because I think that's where people are really wondering, like, what does John do? Like, how does he work that is that I can apply, whether I'm working with you directly or you're just taking one, like I have a course, most people have probably seen it if you're following me, but it's on my website. It's free. It's a 7-day challenge, fight or flight to flow challenge. You can go there and take it. I take you through a bunch of processes and exercises on video. So people can go check that out if they want practices. But for what that is doing for you that's different, I would love to just hear you speak about it a little bit, because I think it'll help people who are asking.
Absolutely. So I definitely want to remind people about the course before we're done so that they can go there and sign up. But what John's helped me do is like about a good way that you described it, John, which is something that I didn't even realize, is that my physical body didn't feel like a safe space, for a long time because of all these surgeries and all this trauma and different things that had happened. So I was kind of always up here, kind of out of my body, but you need to be in your body to function in this dimension. And so
well, I'm going to stop you for a sec, though. I want to just say, because there's something that we discovered with you, and we've talked about it a fair amount, is that not everybody needs to be like in their body, like inside their body, as if their consciousness is inside their body looking out through their eyes. Because the truth is, if you really try to define where consciousness is located, you'll never define it, because it's a non-local phenomenon. So you can't slice open Serena or my brain and say, hey, there's John or Serena's consciousness. It doesn't work that way. It's everywhere and infinite. However, we also need to come into connection with and experience the body, but maybe it's from outside in. Maybe it's from like experiencing your expanded self out of your body, and then feeling that you have a body that you can also penetrate and kind of like explore into. So I wanted to frame that before, because that's what we found with you that helps you actually connect to your body.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is. And it's so much better the way you explained it and framed it. Like, that's exactly what we did with me. And, when we talk about flow, we're talking about coherence. That's really something that you helped me with. In our sessions, I completely felt connected, not just my heart and my mind, but like to everything. There's no better way for me to explain. And when I talk about you, John, and thank you for all these comments that are coming through and all the hearts. When I talk about what John does, that's like one of the best ways for me to explain it, is that like I feel the flow you create, the connection you make. I feel connected and a part of everything. And it's peaceful. It's calm. It's in flow. It is, it's like a sense of like being, that there's no other real way to describe it. And it sounds so esoteric, but that's what it is. Like, it's when you're in it's beyond being calm. It's like you're a part of everything, and everything just is, and it's perfect, and it's beautiful, and it's just flow. And I wasn't able to make that connection. And then once we got me there, for you to just to remind myself, for you to remind me, to just bring that energy back to the places in my body that was disconnected, and to bring it back to my heart to my brain, and back again, and to kind of continue that constant practice. That was huge for me, and very different than Reiki. Like Reiki, I can like channel the light, and there's love and there's light. And you did tell me to do that, but it's slightly different. It's not exactly the same. as that connection that you had me just remind myself to do. And I think a word would be to like honor that, in a way, like really honor and nourish and just kind of make that connection. It's like, it's hard for me to explain. I mean,
you're right. I think this is one of the great, hi, Allie. This is one of the great challenges with when you're talking about, someone's asking what kind of doctor. My license is chiropractic. So my original license is DC. So that there's an integration of, integration. There's an integration of the experience of connecting to the field, which is that free feeling of like boundless energy and liberation when we truly connect to that which exists beyond the kind of physical, mechanical, atomic level. Yes. And we go into this other experience, which is, it's as if there's no friction. All the friction is gone. And the truth is, technically the body actually in its soft tissues operates with a structure that is liquid crystal. So what is a liquid crystal? A liquid crystal is like an LCD screen that you would, like a TV, where the structure of it is actually, no resistance. So the structure is malleable and flexible, and it changes when you send different amounts of electricity through it. So on your TV, you would send electrical input into this liquid crystal medium, and it changes the configuration of the molecules, which allows different colors to show up. So somebody asked, would you ask that question again? Somebody asked it to develop what's beyond the atomic level.
Beyond the atomic level.
Okay, well, what's beyond?
Wants to experience, to have that experience, and I mean that's what I get to experience with you, John.
So what's beyond the atomic level? The subatomic level means that there are, there's a nucleus of an atom that, and then there are electrons that are in a kind of orbit around that nucleus. What we learned in high school, was that there's like a nucleus. It's a little solid thing with, neutrons and protons. You have a little like electrons that are going in orbits that we see those little like kind of circles going around. But it doesn't really work that way, actually. If you were to look at the subatomic level, if you were to look at an atom, and you were to try to visualize it, you wouldn't see just like a little nucleus with a little ball going around it. You would see more of like a fuzzy, hazy kind of patch of light. And you would say, wait, there's nothing there. It's actually all just like this kind of fuzz of energy. That's because at the subatomic level, when you really start to look at the structure of reality, when you start to look at what this table, that your desk is made of wood, you look at the wall behind you, that's maybe wood or plaster or whatever it is. You realize when you zoom in far enough, you realize that the atoms that are making up that structure are actually vibrating and whizzing around little like things at this very small level. But if you go even smaller to the subatomic, there's actually nothing there. There's actually no solid thing there at all. So the truth is, when we suspend that illusion that we are mechanical and solid, then it frees us to be able to kind of travel in our awareness and go beyond this illusion of this 3D world. And that's opening us up to where the energy is free and flowing and available all around us. When we tap into that, and then we bring from that perspective our awareness back to our body becomes no longer a physical thing that we just like a container that we're trapped in. It becomes like the densest part to us of this vast field of sort of infinite possibility. And our consciousness is expanded, but we're very much able to feel and sense our body. And that is a way that a lot of people unfortunately don't live, because they either feel like they're in their body and it's very physical, and they're working out and they're eating and they're doing all these physical things, and then they go to some spirituality or some kind of practice to try to connect into something that feels like it's out there or it's deep within, but it's something that somehow is not really connected to the body.
Right.
And the truth is the body is in your consciousness, and your consciousness is then originating also from your body. It's technically a strange loop where it loops back and forth like an infinity symbol, where your brain has biochemical reactions and things that are happening that then like contributes to shifts in consciousness. But then there are receptors on the cells in our body, and there are fields of neurons firing off in our brain, and all these things are happening that are coming from an effect that's in the field around us that then triggers things in our body, which shifts our awareness and our consciousness. And then that shift then feeds back and loops back out and changes the way we experience the world around us. And so by tweaking these two things, the amount of energy that we're tapped into and the amount of awareness that we have and of what we're aware of, we can change the nature of physical reality. Just like you touch your touch screen on your phone and you activate a button, but that button is just through this interface of the screen, which is actually connecting you into the cloud, which isn't in the phone. The cloud isn't in the phone, just like our consciousness isn't really in our body in that way. It's an interface. The body is an interface to this whole infinite world of possibilities and dimensions. And it's just like a very thin veneer on this like 3-dimensional world that we're in. So when people go, well, what are the practices we can do to start to like, cultivate this awareness? One, meditation is something that everybody should be doing on some level. I mean, not everybody, meditation isn't the same for everyone. Some people walk in meditation, they go out in the wilderness, or they go out into the park and they just feel, sense, and tune into and ground yourself and feel the earth beneath your feet and feel the sky above and feel the energy and the sunlight all around you and feel that you're part of something greater and connected. And you're just walking and you're feeling, and you're not on your phone and you're not like talking to anybody. You're just tuning in. Something like that. That's a type of meditation. Then you have transcendental meditation. Then you have oneness meditation. Then you have there are so many different types of meditation where you just sit and you follow the breath, or you just sit and you just travel deep within, or you travel out in your conscious awareness and just go beyond your limitations of your physical body and recognize that, like, I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and I'm going to just sit here and I'm going to watch the thoughts that go by and let them wash by. And then I'm going to keep coming back to an awareness of something that is bigger than me, that transcends me, that connects me to something greater, right? So you can just meditation is not a hard thing to do. You have to find your style. Some people are trying to visualize, and they think they need to see light and energy and stuff. But the way that they connect in meditation is just feeling. Some people actually hear tones and sounds, and when they do chanting, or they do mantra, or they do toning, or they do crystal bowls, or they do tuning forks, or they do music, it's like that is a type of resonance that puts them into these amazing states, right? For some people, it's total quiet. No sound at all helps them connect, and that's their meditation happens when they just go into solitude and quiet. Some people, it's like movement where they run. I mean, there are people that run, distance runners that just get into a rhythm and a cadence, and then they just sort of lose themselves and they feel connected. You got to find your style. There isn't one practice that's the way.
No, and it's such a good reminder too that there isn't any one way. It's just kind of your way. And someone had said oneness. A few people said, I'm like, that was the word I was looking for. I mean, that's really what you feel when you're in that flow. And I love the reminder that you have about this loop, that we're doing. And it's about being able to do that loop and going in and out. And that is what you have helped me with so Don, truly. And so I interrupt you, but keep going. Just like other things, we talked about meditation and connecting with high vibration things that can be foods, but some other things.
Yeah. So there's a whole, there are worlds, and there are many different teachers and mentors and guides in this area, but there are ways of working with the non-physical. So there are practices that help you connect into more subtle energy awareness, where you start to feel and sense more. Some of the things in the 7-day challenge on the later days get a little more into that, but it's but I would say that people tend to ask a lot. The first thing is like, is it like Reiki? Okay, so question about reflexology or acupuncture. Acupuncture, I think, is really a positive. It always has to do with the practitioner and the where they're at in their consciousness and in their vibe. So almost everything will work. I mean, the truth is everything works. Some things just work better for you because of the way you're wired, and everything has to do with, do you feel resonance with and connection with the practitioner you're working with? And do they see you? Do you feel like they're present with you? Are they connected to themselves? Are they congruent in what they're teaching and what they're doing? Do you feel like you can open up when they come into your, field? Like, it's really about, there isn't one way. It's and some person can have an incredible experience with the practitioner, and then another person sees that same person and they're just like, no, I didn't really feel it. And you could also have a day where it just like everything syncs up and it's an amazing session, and another day where maybe things happen that you didn't register it as amazing. You felt like stirred up and irritated and frustrated, but yet you were processing something. So we have to realize that we have to define like what is progress and what is a positive outcome when we're working with energy. So you have. Is it when you feel elated? Is it when you feel anything? When you feel more emotion? Is it when you don't feel emotion? You were feeling emotional and now you feel. Is it just when you feel happy? Is it being out of pain? Is it feeling integrated and connected, like on this deep level where you feel and know your connection to yourself, and you feel what's right and what isn't right, and some intuitive way to. Just some part of you knows, like, I need this, or no, I need to say yes to that, or no to that. This is what I know I need to eat. I can feel the vibration and the resonance in this food. I can feel whether there's friction and dissonance with this person. Like that to me, as you get more connected, and my goal is always to help someone get more connected to that knowing and that intuitive sense that can show up in all these different ways. When you're more connected, right? You just know. And then you can actually, and then it's about acting on that knowing. And that is the key.
And that is, it's such a good, I'm so glad you said that. That is something that John taught me and reminds me of. It's like when you know and you feel it, like you got to act on that and stick with that feeling and connect to that. And that's something that you remind me of, like, especially after some intense sessions we've had, So, I know we're coming up to the hour, and I just want to do a few things. First, I want to thank everyone who has been on here and has stayed on for about an hour. There's like 1,000 of you that have come on and off, and you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all your shares and your feedback, and just connecting with us. So thank you so much. And then I want you guys to go to the bottom of the bottom here where the comment is pinned, and I have John's Instagram account that's pinned here. Go after this, go follow him, and go and see all the things that he has to offer. You've got the 7-day challenge, right? Which is free for people to sign up. And then you can take a look and see all the different things he's doing, the information that he shares. I would say definitely go and watch episode 5 of Goop Labs to get some insight. And one of these times, John, we're going to record one, right?
Yes. We were going to do it this last time, and then it's sort of like I think you and I sat and talked about like what's happening in the world of like decentralized finance and blockchain and how the blockchain is like the Akashic record, here on the planet. In some ways, and so anyway, we had this and all of a sudden an hour had gone by, and then we got into the session, so it sort of didn't happen. But we'll have to film one, and then we can share it.
We will for sure. We'll film it and we'll share it with you guys. But there were some more questions, and I know we're coming to this, so we're gonna have to do this again. But before, let's talk about Clubhouse.
Yes. Okay. So I think that is absolutely that was what I was going to say too, because a lot of people a lot of people are wanting to ask questions to kind of engage, and here it's like all these things are going by really fast, and it's like people are like, what books, what this, what that. So and Clubhouse is something that I know you've been working with. You've been doing a group there. I have not. I'm a member. Someone invited me, but I haven't hosted anything or been involved in anything yet. So
we're gonna
we're gonna do a conversation. What do you call it on Clubhouse? It's like
we're gonna do a room. We're gonna do a room. So first, you guys go to Clubhouse. If you're not on it, DM me. Let me know. I'll send you an invite. And if you're on Clubhouse, go and follow Dr. John Amaral. His handle is the same as he has here on his Instagram. Mine is different. Mine is Serena Poon. There's no chef. Everyone's talking about Gizmo.
I'm laughing at the comments about Gizmo. It's just like so out.
I know, he's so funny. And so go there and follow us. And I have 2 rooms on Clubhouse. I have Culinary Alchemy, and we do Monday nights. We cook, we chat, we talk about all kinds of cool things, and we'll have special guests. And then I also have Serena Loves as well on Clubhouse now. What we'll do with that is we'll extend. So that will be an extension of the conversations we have here. You know, we will go ahead, you can open up, we'll have questions. And, you know, John is going to be able to answer all these different questions. And yes, the replays. We always have the replays up in about 48 hours. So stay tuned here on my Instagram, and also follow John, because I'm sure he'll repost when I announce it. But also go to my link tree, and it'll have my YouTube link there, and you can go and subscribe, because it goes to YouTube first and then it goes to Facebook, and then I announce it here at some point. But go there, and then we'll let you know, like, we're going to start a room. But I would say go follow and then do the alerts. There's a little bell, and if you do the bell and the notification when John starts a room, when we do it together, you'll get notified. But we will definitely let you know here first. So follow and set notifications, and we'll go from there. So
that's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Serena. A couple of questions that I saw about Clubhouse. Maybe we can post something, or you can post something as it approaches. We'll definitely put it on there.
For sure.
You know, so that you can find us. And then for some people who are not, I don't know, people still have to be invited to Clubhouse, or can they now just go on?
No, you still have to be invited. So I would say go ahead, DM me, DM John. You know, I have invitations. I'll send you an invitation. Just send me a message. Or you know what? We'll give away some invites here. So do a screenshot, tag me, tag John, let me know that you're going to come and join us in a room on Clubhouse, and I'll send you an invite. So how's that sound?
You're good, Serena.
Yeah?
You're really good. Okay. Someone asked if I do personal sessions. I do. You can go to my website, johnamaral.com, and get the info there. You can also email assistant@johnamaral.com asking about sessions, or just DM me about sessions. So there is a possibility. I've limited at this point. I'm pretty booked out, but I do in the LA area right now. So yeah, it is possible to do private sessions with me still. Is there anything else? Do we want to answer? Where are we at here?
Well, we're coming up to the hour. So I think what happens is they kick us off, but we'll continue this. And then you guys send us DMs, and we're going to do this on Clubhouse. So I want to see you guys down there. I want to see follows. John's account is new, so let's add some follows to his account. And then stay tuned here, and I'll send you the link, and then also link, invite, and announcements. So if you stay here, I will announce when we do a room, the day, the time, and what we're going to talk about. And I want you guys to bring your questions. So how does that sound? Yeah?
It sounds good to me. All right. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for joining us and for tuning in. Obviously, it's we kind of just dip into the
This is just the beginning. Yeah.
I know.
Mm-hmm. We're going to do more.
So, beautiful. All right, everyone. And Serena, thank you. As always, it's awesome to connect with you.
Love you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for all the hearts, all these comments.
I know, it's crazy.
Thank you so much. All right, you guys, say goodnight to Giz. All right, bye, you guys. I'll see you soon.